Am I wrong to suspect a secret relationship between my husband and my best friend? Because she flirts and he seems to dislike her? Original post, February 3rd, 2024. I am a 31-year-old woman grappling with a nagging suspicion that something unusual is happening between my 33-year-old husband and my 30-year-old best friend, Maria. My husband dismisses my concerns, frustrated that I don't trust him. He thinks I'm just imagining things. I need an outsider's perspective. Does the incident from last weekend seem suspicious to you too? Maria and I go way back to our college days. She's always been the extrovert, lively and a bit adventurous in her social life, which contrasts with my more reserved nature. Throughout college, Maria was known for her dynamic dating life and her striking beauty, which sometimes made me feel overshadowed, especially given my struggles with weight. I've always been shy, and my husband was my first serious relationship. Maria used to joke about me sticking with just one man all my life. As time passed, our roles seemed to reverse. Maria, who has never settled into a long-term relationship, often remarks how fortunate I am to have such a driven and dependable husband. About 6 months ago, my husband confided in me that he felt Maria was making advances towards him. Although he's never been fond of her, he's tolerated her for my sake. During a recent dinner party, Maria's behavior was noticeably flirty, laughing excessively at his jokes, complimenting his physique, and frequently touching his shoulders and arms. My husband expressed his discomfort to me and asked that I speak with her about it. Confronting Maria led to a heated exchange. She insisted that she sees my husband as a brother, accusing him of trying to sabotage our friendship out of dislike for her. I wanted to believe her sincerity and decided to drop the matter. Shortly after, Maria joined our gym, wanting to take yoga classes alongside me. However, she increasingly spent time in the weights room, where my husband also worked out. He often complained that Maria was overly revealing in her attire and would ask for his assistance with the equipment. Maria, on her part, claimed my husband was being rude and unhelpful. I took her side once again, urging him to be more accommodating as she was my best friend. My husband agreed to make an effort, and gradually, I noticed them growing friendlier and even working out together. Although I tried to stay composed, I couldn't shake off a feeling of jealousy. Now, about what happened last weekend. Maria threw a birthday party at her apartment and invited a group of friends, including my husband and me. She was insistent on us all taking tequila shots throughout the night. As the evening wore on, most of us became quite inebriated. Maria, seated next to my husband, flirted openly with him. However, seeing that he wasn't reciprocating, I tried not to worry. Maria then suggested we stay over, and my husband and I ended up in the guest bedroom while 3 of her colleagues, 1 man and 2 women, slept on the living room sofas. I remember being heavily intoxicated and my husband helping me to the guest room. That's the last clear memory I have before waking in the middle of the night alone in bed. Distinct moaning sounds echoed from outside. In a panic, I fumbled for my phone, accidentally knocking something off the nightstand in the dark. The noises abruptly stopped, followed by the sound of a door opening and closing. Concerned, I got up to check on my husband. In the hallway, I found him shirtless, wearing only jeans. He claimed he'd been to the bathroom and inquired if I was all right. Assured by his response, he returned to bed beside me. Noticing his sweat, I questioned why he was shirtless, to which he replied that he had overheated due to the high setting on the heater. His t-shirt lay on a chair next to our bed. Though I tried, sleep eluded me for the rest of the night. Early the next morning, I went to Maria's room and found her sleeping alone, naked. I informed her we were leaving and she rose to bid us farewell. I kept all these worries to myself until we got home. While my husband showered, I seized the opportunity to check his phone but found no messages between him and Maria. The entire day, I wrestled with my thoughts and finally confronted him that evening. His reaction was one of anger. He confessed his dislike for Maria, emphasizing that he only tolerates her for my sake. I shared my concerns about the moaning noises. He admitted hearing them too when he went to the bathroom, but assumed they originated from the living room. He remains upset with me for suspecting him of such a betrayal and suggested that if my insecurities persist, I might consider ending my friendship with Maria. He vowed never to be alone with her again. I'm torn. Deep down, I trust my husband wouldn't betray me, yet I can't shake off the haunting images of him with Maria. Am I wrong to confront my husband and accuse him without concrete evidence? How can I be sure of what truly happened? If I confront Maria, she would likely react with equal fury. I hardly know her colleagues well enough to trust their word. Reflecting on it, I feel foolish for having encouraged a friendship between my husband and Maria. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. To complicate matters, I recently discovered they've been communicating through Facebook Messenger. An update from the online community suggests a different perspective. One user shared a similar experience, having a Maria in her life who was charismatic and attractive, but never crossed a line with her boyfriend. This person reassured me that it's likely my husband's explanation holds true. He was merely overheated from the alcohol and the heater. This input, while comforting, still leaves me with unresolved feelings. Listen, as someone who's been in your shoes, I suggest putting some distance between you and Maria. You don't need to cut her off completely, but consider reducing your interactions by about 20%. It's important to have friends who don't make you worry about them trying to seduce your husband. Judgment. Maria is clearly in the wrong. Your husband isn't to blame here. Your actions, however, are still under scrutiny. Take this opportunity to apologize to your husband and move forward. If you don't, you risk being the one at fault here. I've decided to increase our distance from Maria. Her flirtatious behavior with my husband feels threatening, and I'm not comfortable with it. She behaves similarly with other men, which I've always attributed to just being her nature. I'm clinging to the hope that your assurances about my husband are accurate. The fact that I can't stop thinking about the incident, even 5 days later, fills me with anxiety. I've apologized to my husband, and he says he's forgiven me, but I can tell he's still upset. Top comments. Many comments focus on Maria and confirm she's not a true friend. I agree, but I also want to emphasize the need to be a better partner to your husband. He's repeatedly expressed his discomfort, which you've consistently overlooked. Encouraging him to interact with someone he dislikes was a mistake. Stop it. Consider how you would feel if roles were reversed. Would you appreciate being told to overlook someone's continuous flirting and harassment? Respect your husband's decision to steer clear of Maria completely. If he says he won't be in the same room with her again, respect that completely. It's not your role to force interactions and then become upset when the atmosphere feels tense. A tension he has repeatedly pointed out. Do better. Your husband shouldn't have to interact with her again, and frankly, neither should you. Remember, not all friendships are meant to last forever. This chapter of my life is over. It's time to move on and focus on salvaging my marriage. Update 1, March 13th, 2024. 1 month later. About a month ago, I shared my suspicions about my husband and my best friend Maria possibly being intimate while I was incapacitated in another room during her birthday celebration. This past month has been tumultuous, pushing my mental health to its limits due to these betrayals. I believe I finally pieced together the events of that night, although it's been a painful process. The day after the party at Maria's, I couldn't rid myself of the nagging suspicion that something had occurred between them. I'm not proud of it, but in my desperation, I checked my husband's phone and all his messaging apps. I discovered a brief exchange between my husband and Maria on Facebook Messenger. Maria expressed gratitude for his presence at her party and referenced "such a great night," attaching a photo of them embracing, a photo taken after I had fallen asleep. My husband responded by revealing my suspicions to Maria and requesting that she speak to me about the night. Maria phoned me the following day, vehemently denying any inappropriate behavior and labeling me delusional. Despite her convincing tone, my intuition told me otherwise. I confronted her about the photo and her proximity to my husband while I was unconscious, which she dismissed as paranoia. Deciding that I could no longer trust her, I chose to distance myself from Maria. We even altered our gym schedule to avoid any encounters with her. However, a week later, she messaged my husband again on Facebook Messenger, implying they needed to confess the whole truth to me. My husband, confused and concerned, repeatedly asked her to clarify, but she only expressed feelings of guilt. He came to me, bewildered by her messages, and reassured me once more that nothing had happened that night. I confessed to him that I had read their secretive exchanges on Facebook Messenger. He accused me of being insecure and suggested that Maria was merely trying to manipulate me. Driven by a need for clarity, I decided to confront Maria directly at her home. Initially, she was evasive, reluctant to discuss the matter. Eventually, however, she broke down and revealed her account of the night. According to Maria, during the birthday party, my husband was unusually attentive towards her. After noting my inebriated state, he escorted me to the bedroom, but quickly returned to the living room. There, he sat close to Maria, casually touching her legs. Both heavily intoxicated, they agreed to end the night shortly after. Maria claimed that later, my husband followed her to her room, began to undress her, and they had a physical encounter. She expressed that she was too drunk to give consent and felt violated. Despite her discomfort, she chose silence initially to avoid conflict. When I questioned the clarity of her memory given her stated level of intoxication, she insisted she recalled everything vividly. Confronted with these revelations, my husband vehemently denied her allegations, maintaining his innocence and accusing Maria of sowing discord. His frustration escalated to the point where he left our home and checked into a nearby hotel. He continues to reach out, urging me to trust him, yet trust is now a luxury I can't afford. I'm shaken by his purported actions I never imagined him capable of. Meanwhile, Maria has also been contacting me, seeking my support during this tumultuous time. At a loss, I plan to stay with my parents for a few days to clear my head and ponder our future. Many of you doubted my suspicions in earlier posts, but my instincts told me something was amiss. Now faced with these shocking developments, my life feels upended. Relevant comments raised a skeptical point. If Maria's narrative seems tailored to cast my husband as the villain and herself as a victim, especially after her cryptic messages about coming clean, can her story be trusted? What is the truth here? Is Maria genuinely remorseful, or is she positioning herself as a victim? It seems like a tangled mess. At this point, I'm torn about what to believe. On one hand, I want to trust my husband, but the image of them together that night haunts me relentlessly. How can I possibly discern the truth? I'm driving myself crazy over analyzing every minor detail, trying to catch something I might have missed. I've told my husband that I need some space, and he seems to understand, but he also questions how he can prove his innocence in an event he insists never occurred. A top comment pointed out that I seem inclined to believe Maria over my husband, highlighting the inconsistency in her thanking him for a great night and then later claiming she was assaulted. This whole situation makes me wonder if I'm too willing to assume the worst about my husband without concrete evidence. Final update, March 22nd, 2024, 9 days later. I previously shared concerns about my husband and Maria. While I lacked solid evidence, Maria eventually confessed that my husband took advantage of her when she was intoxicated. Initially torn, I leaned towards believing Maria. My husband, hurt by my distrust, decided to stay in a hotel. After sharing my update, I spent a night reading through comments and weeping, overwhelmed by my own insecurities and the community's feedback that perhaps my husband was truthful all along. I apologize for the lengthy post and thank you for your immense support during this ordeal. To those who sent harsh messages, know that while I am grappling with mental health issues, it doesn't justify ending my life. My insecurities weren't always so pronounced. When I first met my husband, we were both struggling with our weight. He never judged me for mine, as long as I was happy. A year before our wedding, we aimed to lose weight, and while he successfully shed 40 pounds, I didn't make the same progress. Our wedding photo, where he looks transformed and I do not, fueled my insecurities about my appearance, likening us to Ryan Reynolds marrying Princess Fiona from Shrek. This has been a significant source of my self-doubt. The constant comments from my mom and Maria about needing to lose weight to keep my husband only intensified my fears. I agonized not over if, but when he might leave me for someone he found more attractive. Despite my insecurities, he has always been supportive and loving. I went to see him one morning and found him visibly shattered by the ordeal. As I apologized profusely, crying, he spent nearly an hour trying to soothe me. I affirmed my trust in him, regretting not realizing sooner. His expression remained stoic. He confessed his fears about Maria potentially spreading rumors on social media, worried about the impact of such accusations on his reputation among family, friends, and co-workers. He stressed the need for us to confront Maria about her deceitful claims. I recounted to him what Maria had told me. and he shared his version of that night. I had fallen asleep on his lap around 1:30 a.m., and he later moved me to the bedroom. After ensuring I was settled, he returned to bid farewell to the guests, finding the party winding down. Unlike Maria and her friends who were heavily intoxicated, my husband, who typically limits himself to 1 or 2 drinks, was sober. Maria had been snapping photos with guests, making playful poses, the same photo she later sent to my husband. She asked him to help her fetch blankets and pillows for others. He declined, opting to check on me instead, and another male coworker volunteered to assist her. My husband then returned to our room to sleep. He awoke later to use the restroom, during which he also heard the moaning noises that soon ceased. We decided it was crucial to confront Maria directly and invited her over. Her reaction to seeing my husband and me together was one of shock. My husband confronted her, reminding her of her grateful message the day after the party. Defensive, Maria changed her story, claiming she had blacked out that night but slowly pieced together memories of the evening. She recalled waking up naked and questioned why she would sleep that way without locking her door, especially with her coworkers nearby. Persisting in her accusations, she alleged that my husband visited her room and took advantage of her drunken state. My husband firmly denied Maria's claims, and when she persisted, saying she distinctly remembered him naked and involved with her, he challenged her details, knowing they would not match reality. Stunned by his question, she retorted that his size didn't alter her negative experience, asserting she was too drunk to consent. This response confirmed my suspicions, as Maria's description didn't align with the truth about my husband. I confronted Maria, our argument escalating into a shouting match as I called her out on her lies and ordered her to leave our home. I declared my unwavering support for my husband, ready to defend his innocence to anyone. Maria, in tears, accused me of siding with a rapist as she left. Despite the turmoil, I embraced my husband, though he remained emotionally distant. He disclosed his need to clear his mind at his parents' place for a week, despite my wish to stay by his side. He arranged for my mother to stay with me during his absence, ensuring I wouldn't be alone. Throughout the week, we stayed in touch by phone, and he's expected back tomorrow. This ordeal has made me realize the depth of his character, and I feel both fortunate and unworthy of such a steadfast partner. Our relationship with Maria is irrevocably damaged, and I've received overwhelming support from many who followed our story. Grateful for this, I've enrolled in therapy to grow from this experience and be a better partner. Last update, July 11th, 2024. 4 months have passed since I first posted about Maria's false accusations against my husband, which she framed as sexual assault due to her intoxication. This morning, I was inundated with messages inquiring about the outcome, prompting this update rather than individual responses. Following my last post, my husband sought solace at his parents' home. The comments left me fearing he might not return, but he reassured me of his return. Overwhelmed, I visited him. We shared several profound conversations where he expressed his pain over my initial trust in Maria's word over his. This period has been a profound reflection and learning experience for us both. I confessed to my husband how deeply I regretted my previous doubts and vowed never to question his integrity again. After a week at his parents' place, we returned home. Yet the incident with Maria continued to loom in our discussions. Maria initially ceased all contact, but a week later she began reaching out, requesting a meeting. Despite my inclination to sever ties, my husband speculated that perhaps her coworker had taken advantage of her in her intoxicated state, and she had misremembered the events. While my husband was adamant that Maria was no longer welcome in our home and that he could never forgive her, he encouraged me to listen to her perspective before cutting her off completely. He suggested a public place for this conversation. I agreed and arranged to meet Maria at a local coffee shop. During our meeting, Maria was visibly distressed, apologizing profusely. She recounted the night, recalling how she saw me pass out and how my husband helped me to our room. She remembered asking him for help retrieving items from the bedroom and waking up naked, convinced they had been intimate. However, after reflecting on our confrontation, she began to question the accuracy of her drunk recollections. Maria had confronted her coworker, who then revealed the truth. He had returned to her room after fetching pillows and bedding, and they had been intimate, initiated by her after a mutual kiss. This coworker explained that he returned to her room later that night at her invitation and affirmed that she was fully conscious and had initiated their encounter. He had kept quiet the next morning, thinking it was merely a casual hookup Maria preferred not to discuss afterward. Maria expressed deep remorse, admitting her inebriated state led her to falsely implicate my husband. When I questioned her feelings towards my husband and whether she intended any harm that night, she assured me of her respect for our relationship. She explained her guilt had driven her to urge my husband to reveal everything to me, arguing that had she truly harbored feelings for him, she wouldn't have pushed for transparency, but would have kept the affair hidden. This revelation was a crucial turning point, helping me understand the misjudgments fueled by alcohol and emotional turmoil. Maria reassured me that she values my husband as a friend and would never intentionally hurt me. This explanation seemed plausible to both of us. I discussed this with my husband, and he agreed that the similar stature and build of the coworker might have led to Maria's confused recollection. While he said I could decide for myself whether to maintain a friendship with Maria, he expressed that he could never erase the torment of those accusations, which nearly destroyed our marriage. He has forgiven her, but will never forget the ordeal. Maria reached out over the phone to apologize to him, and he accepted her apology, stipulating that any future interactions with her would only occur if I were present. After this tumultuous period, Maria briefly dated the coworker involved in the incident, but it ended when he was unfaithful. When they broke up, I supported her through her heartbreak, which surprisingly helped us reconnect. She remained strikingly beautiful yet seemingly unlucky in love. Concurrently, I embarked on my own journey of self-improvement by starting therapy to address my self-esteem and anxiety issues. I've also lost significant weight in the past 3 months, which has positively impacted my mental health. There's still a long road ahead, but the unwavering support from my husband bolsters my confidence. Reflecting on my previous update, I regret the comments about my husband's anatomy. What matters most is that he fulfills me completely, and I cherish our relationship deeply. An unintended benefit of this whole situation might be that Maria, known for sharing too much, likely told our friends about the incident, which could deter any inappropriate advances towards my husband. I am actively working on myself and request understanding and kindness from the community. Please refrain from sending harsh messages or doubting the love my husband and I share. On Maria's situation, it's perplexing how she can recall specific details from a night she claimed to be too intoxicated to remember, yet accepts the narrative provided by her coworker. While Maria's choices in partners are consistently poor, some commenters have suggested that perhaps it's healthier to let this friendship go due to its potentially toxic nature. Indeed, no one is explicitly at fault, but personally, I wouldn't want to place my husband in such a difficult position again. While he expressed his acceptance of my decision to maintain a connection with Maria, it's clear that it's not ideal for him to be comfortable with someone who has wronged him so deeply. Acknowledging this, my husband no longer accompanies me to places where Maria might be present. The only exception was a brief encounter at my parents' house, where Maria happened to be a guest as well. For a time, I distanced myself from Maria, but her situation with her unfaithful coworker evoked my sympathy, compelling me to reconsider our estrangement. Thank you for following this story. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and click the notification bell to stay updated with more real-life stories that are as compelling as this one.